Many have tried to perfect the top 25 roller coasters list, but all who have come have failed. Today, the world finds out what a true top 25 roller coasters list looks like. Feast your eyes upon my top 25 roller coasters.
Like that's ever gonna happen. What a load.
Alright. Before we get into this, let me just make note here that I've only been to the parks that you see on screen here, so if a ride isn't on my list, check this list again to make sure that I've actually been to the park. And on top of that, a couple things to note. Busch Gardens Williamsburg have not been on Verbolten, Invader, or Tempesto. Cedar Point haven't been on Gemini, Corkscrew, Valraven, or Top Thrill Dragster, which was, of course, closed the day I was there. At SeaWorld Orlando, I have not been on Mako, and of course, any ride that's opened up after April of 2020, I have not been on. And also, before we get started here, how about a little warning for you? A lot of these are hot takes, and a lot of people don't necessarily agree with them, so you've been warned. At number 25, we have Alpengeist from Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride might not be the most thrilling or intense, but it's got some great theming, some great leg chopper moments with the trees coming beneath you. I mean, that's not something that many B&M inverts actually do. So I gotta give it up to Alpengeist and put it in my top 25. At number 24, we have Batman the Ride at many Six Flags parks. And oh boy, I love this one. This one you can easily marathon. Like, this is such a short and sweet ride, but it's so intense. There's plenty of opportunities on this ride to gray out, and I can see why Six Flags cloned this one as much times as they did. At number 23, we have Goliath at Six Flags Great America. This is, another kind of short and sweet one. It's a lot of fun. It has a lot of great floater airtime moments, and the inversions are pretty great on it, but it is really short. I think that if it was longer, I'd probably have it higher up on the list, but I do believe that from the drop to the brake run, it's only about a 30-second ride, so yeah, that definitely hurts it in my books. At number 22, we have Storm Runner at Hershey Park. This is just a fun launch, it's not the fastest launch, it's not the craziest launch, but the here we go, thing is also super fun. I love how it stays up in the sky for a majority of its run, so it's almost like you're touching the clouds, kind of really fits the name of Storm Runner, Once again, similar to Goliath, wish it was longer, but still a really solid and fun ride. At number 21, we have King Dakar, the tallest coaster in the world, and this one's just an adrenaline rush, man. I mean, it's short, obviously, it only does really two things, that being the launch and the top hat, and guess what? It does those two things extremely well. If only it did more things, it'd be higher on the list, but this is still a great ride and deserves to be in my top 25. At number 20, we have Apollo's Chariot from Busch Gardens Williamsburg, its second ride on the list. And I love B&M hypers, you're gonna see a couple more of them on this list. Apollo's Chariot is no exception. It is a great drop, a great airtime hill after the first drop. I just kind of wish the ride did a little bit more after the drop and the first airtime hill. The rest is, it's good, but it's not as great as I'd like it to be, and that's why it finds itself at 20 on the list. At number 19, we have Bizarro at Six Flags Great Adventure. I'm a sucker for this ride. I know most people don't really care for this one, but I love the theming, I love the elements, I love the coaster layout. It's just a great ride overall. I think that if the ride still had its onboard audio, this ride would be way higher, because that onboard audio was awesome, made the ride 10 times better. But now that that's gone, it's obviously not anywhere near as good as it used to be, but still definitely top 20 worthy. At 18, we have a bit of a curveball here for you. From Universal Studios Florida, Revenge of the Mummy. I know, this ride's coaster elements are pretty lackluster outside of the launches, but the theming on this ride is top notch, and it makes it such a great ride overall, I mean, when I'm grading these coasters, I count everything surrounding it, so that includes the theming, and when you're talking about a ride that's this well themed, I have to put it on the list, so that's why Revenge of the Mummy finds itself at this spot. At number 17, we have The Beast from Kings Island. Of course, this one is an absolute journey, an absolute adventure. It's the longest wooden coaster in the world. And oh my, I mean, this is one of the most unique experiences you can get out there. I haven't gotten the chance to ride it at night. I've heard it's amazing at night. It probably will go up my list if I get to ride it at night. But riding it during the day even is still an amazing experience. It's got so many fun and unique elements to it. And I think that it's just a must ride if you're a coaster enthusiast, 100%. At 16, we're sticking at Kings Island with Banshee. And Banshee, listen, like this is probably the smoothest B&M invert I've been on. You know, a lot of them are really intense, you know, really kind of rattle. This one, no way. This one's smooth, and the reason for that is probably because it's one of the newer B&M inverts. But that 0G roll, oh my. I mean, that's probably one of the best 0G rolls I've ever experienced. I mean, this ride has so many great elements, and like I said, so smooth. It's just such a fun ride. I do wish that maybe it didn't have the vest restraints. I'm not the biggest fan of those, but other than that, great ride. Cracking into the top 15 is Fahrenheit from Hershey Park. You know, the first time I rode this back around when it opened, I did not like it at all. Didn't like it at all. But I gave it a re-ride fairly recently, and actually, I love this ride. I mean, it is just non-stop pop from start to finish, constantly going through inversion after inversion, and once it's over, you don't even know what just hit you. At number 14, we're sticking with another Intamin coaster, that being Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens Tampa. And let me tell you right now, POVs do not do this ride justice. I mean, this ride flies through its layout, flies through it. I know its top speed is not that great at 60 miles per hour, but it maintains that speed so well throughout the duration of the ride, and the way that the ride maneuvers throughout the terrain that's set up around it really does make you feel like a cheetah running through the African plains. And honestly, what this ride is able to accomplish is just straight up awesome and deserves a spot on my list. At number 13, that's right, we're sticking with another Intamin Blitz coaster. It's Maverick. And yeah, I mean, people are probably going to say this is a bit low, especially given the parks I've been to. And sure, you can say that, but I like this ride. I like the ride a lot, but there's a couple things I have issues with. I mean, let's first talk about what I like. One, obviously, the second launch is awesome. Great launch. I do love, you know, a lot of the inversions are great. I do love how it does have a lot of the elements that Cheetah Hunt has, and then mixes those with the elements that Fahrenheit has. My only issue is that, you know, the pacing kind of feels off at some points because it's kind of moving in between all these different types of elements. And then also, of course, that launch on the lift hill is just so gimmicky. It literally does nothing. It's such a gimmick, and that just kind of annoys me, but that's more of a pet peeve. But anyways, that finds itself at this point on my list. Maybe eventually it'll move its way up, but right now this is where it is. At 12, and I know this is going to piss a lot of people off, Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. That's right, folks. I know, once again, similar to Revenge of the Mummy, coaster elements in this one, not the best. The coaster itself, could use a little work, right? But the music that gets to play on the ride is what makes it. It's what makes it. You know, you get to pick your music, and each song that they have, not only in the regular playlist but in the secret playlist, is timed up perfectly with the elements of the ride, and it ends just being just such a unique and exciting experience that you literally cannot get much of anywhere else. At number 11, just missing out of the top 10, it's Gatekeeper from Cedar Point, and I know I have it over Maverick. Sue me. But I'm going to tell you why real quick. 2 words, hang time and floater air time. On the drop, this ride has probably one of the best hang time I've ever experienced. And of course, throughout the ride, the floater air time is amazing. And because of the way that it moves you into the sky and up and over the entrance, it ends up really making you feel like you're flying. And I gotta give it up to Gatekeeper here. He did a good job. And it is finally that moment, folks. We have reached the top 10. Who's going to make it? Who's not going to make it? Let's find out who number 10 is. And it is Kraken from SeaWorld Orlando. Yeah, I mean, another one that maybe a lot of people won't necessarily agree with. I just love this ride, you know. I feel like it's pretty intense. It's got a really good layout to it. And even though the theming is kind of, you know, low level, I still kind of really like it. You know, it's almost got this charming kind of vibe to it that really just kind of helps bring the whole ride together. And I gotta put Kraken in the top 10 because of it. At number 9, we have the best racing coaster in the world, period. Lightning Racer from Hershey Park. This ride is awesome, right? I know both sides of the track are basically the same, they're pretty much mirrored. But not only is it a great wooden coaster on its own, but the fact that it has so many great racing elements where you pass by the other cart, you have opportunity to, you know, throw up the L or make fun of them or talk trash or whatever, is so great. And then also the fact that actually at the end of the ride we actually get to see which side won. That's something that some rides don't do. The racer at Kings Island. But oh my god, this is such a great ride. It's so much fun. And not only is it a great wooden coaster, but it's a great racing coaster, and it's got to be in the top 10 because of it. At number 8, we're going back to Universal Orlando Resort with Islands of Adventure and the incredible Hope Coaster. This has one of the best launches. I mean, you talk about a launch on a lift hill, right? compare this to Maverick's launch on Lift Hill. That launch does literally nothing. Literally does nothing. The launch on Hulk is intense, it's fun, and the theming surrounding it makes it even more exciting than one would even expect. Of course, the ride only a couple years ago was pretty much rebuilt from scratch. It's now super smooth, has the great music from Fall Out Boy playing over it, and it's even better than it's been in the past. I do think that actually the previous theme they had in the launch tunnel where, Bruce Banner was like, oh, this time I think it's going to work, and I just go, malfunction, oh my! I think that was way better than what we have now, but this is still really great overall, and the Hulk deserves to spot in the top 10. At number 7, it's B&M Hyper number 2, Diamondback from Kings Island. This is a fun one, man. A lot of great airtime hills on this one. It's got a great drop. And I also do like how the first couple drops go over the train track. When I went on it, it was pretty lucky the train was going by, and that just made the ride all that much better. And unlike Apollo's Chariot, where like halfway through the ride it kind of gives up, this ride continues to go with the airtime hills, continues to go with the intensity, and it does not slow down at all. And at number 6, I've thrown you curveballs before, but how about a change-up? Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, oh my! Nobody saw this one coming, I probably guarantee you that. But, this ride's awesome. From the realistic and beautiful theming and animatronics to the custom-built motorbike trains that are just so much fun to ride on, and of course to the coaster elements of the ride with several launches, a launch backwards, and a drop, this ride is as good as it gets. And don't even get me started on the onboard audio. Let's not forget about that. I'm a sucker for onboard audio, and this one has it with Hagrid talking over it. And you gotta love it. You gotta give it up for it. The one thing I don't like about this ride is the queue. The queue, I know this is separate from the ride, but I had to rant about this. The queue, unlike Forbidden Journey and Escape from Gringotts, is not very detailed. In fact, it's pretty barren, to be honest, outside of a couple rooms. And on top of that, they reused the tunnels from Dueling Dragons, which was there before it. And oh my god, you're in there forever. It is so annoying and so frustrating when you get to a corner and you turn it and you're still in the tunnel. Oh my, I hate that queue so much, but the ride is awesome. Top 10 worthy. Is steam coming out of your guys' ears yet? Have you guys lost hope? Are you guys furious at me yet? Because you're about to get a whole lot more mad. Number 5, we got Steel Vengeance from Cedar Point. That's right, it's not my number 1. It's in my top 5. It's a great ride. A lot of airtime on this, ejector and floater. It's a lot of fun, the speed is great, the drop is great. There's a lot of great stuff about this. But, as you'll notice in my next 4 rides, I'm not the biggest fan of inversions as I once was. And honestly, the inversions on this ride, I'm not the biggest fan of them. They just don't really do it for me as much as I'd like them to. And I also don't really like that brake run in the middle. I mean, a lot of these are really small things, which is why it's my top 5, but I'm just kind of giving you reasons why it's not my number 1, which I know a lot of people maybe would have expected. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about our top 4. Number 4 being Nitro from Six Flags Great Adventure. I know a lot of people don't like this one. They don't think that it's as intense as some other B&M hypers, but oh my, I mean, come on. The drop on this is awesome. One of the best drops I've ever been on. Right? It's got some great airtime hills following the drop. And then, oh my, that helix towards the end of the ride, that's easy gray out. Easy gray out every time. Easy gray out. And it's just so intense. It's so much fun, so much airtime. It's a classic. It's a great ride. And I love it, and it's got to be in the top 5. That brings us to number 3 with Sky Rush at Hershey Park. This ride's all about the airtime, baby. It's all about ejector airtime after ejector airtime moment. This ride flings you in your seat. It has no regard for your human safety or life. It just flings you around the cart. No regard for it. Insanity is the only way to describe it. Honestly, watching POVs on this ride does not give you a good idea of how intense this ride really is. You have to go out there and ride it yourself. So, anyways, on to number 2. That being another controversial one for you, Millennium Force at Cedar Point. That's right, folks. It's my number 1 ride, Cedar Point, and it's my number 2 ride overall. And listen, I know a lot of people complain there's not a whole lot of forces on this, positive or negative, and I agree. There's not a whole lot, right? Outside of a couple of airtime moments, there's really not that much going on here. But it's got incredible speed and one of the best drops I've ever been on, if not the best drop. This is such an awesome ride. Adrenaline rush is the best way to describe it. And it's got a good length to it too, which a lot of these other adrenaline rush type rides do not have. So yeah, if you're a drop and speed guy, you're gonna love this ride. But if you're an airtime and positive G-force type guy, you're not gonna like this. I get it. But for me, Millennium Force is number 2 worthy. And also, let me just take note here too, night rides on this, and during the summer, you get those bugs flying around. Always a nice challenge to see how many you can kill and how many you get on your hands. That's just another outside element that makes this ride so much fun. Well, I guess it's that time then. Time to move on to my number 1 coaster. Are you ready? 'Cause we've got from Jackson, New Jersey, standing at a height of 181 feet with 4,400 feet of track length and a max speed of 70 miles per hour. It's El Toro out here today. That's right, folks, my number 1 ride is from Six Flags Great Adventure, El Toro, the wooden behemoth. And this ride is insane. This ride's insane. It's got great speed, of course, a great drop, and let's talk about those 2 airtime hills after that first drop. Unbelievable. It starts off as ejector, you're getting popped out of your seat really quick, but then it's sustained, so it turns into floater. And oh my, the ride doesn't even end there. It keeps going with more airtime elements and more positive G moments. Oh my, this ride is unbelievable. It is so intense, it's so much fun, and it just can't be beat. It just can't be beat. You know, I mean, we compare this to my number 2 Millennium Force, it's miles ahead of it. I don't know if there's anything will ever beat this, but then again, there's a lot of things I haven't ridden yet, so I'll keep my mind open. But for right now, El Toro is far and away my number 1 coaster of all time. So that being said, what did you guys think of my top 25 coasters? How much did you hate it? Because I know you hated it. What did you disagree with? Maybe what of my hot takes did you actually agree with? Maybe, I don't know. Put it in the comments. I love to see it. I also love to see maybe some of your top 25s in the comments, or maybe just top 10s, whatever you want to put in there. I'd be interested to see it. So with that being said, I'll see you all next time. Peace.